Hi, you guys. Oh, I've missed you so much. I look forward to the day that I can go back to doing more content. Right now, I've got like 85 jobs, you know why. And so, and of course, I'm still here and trying to get out of here, really trying to get out of here. But soon, hopefully soon, that is in my future, and that'll be great because I miss you guys. We don't connect enough out here on YouTube. Big episode coming out this Sunday and next Sunday. I think you're going to be shocked. This week and next week, equally shocking. It's kind of a Jacqueline Lorita series I'm doing, and I'm taking you on this kind of journey. You know how I like to do journeys. And by the last episode, you're going to go, oh, now I know why she did it the way she did it. I can't wait. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and if you haven't seen the lives I've done with Your Moms Are Watching, there's quite a few from back in 2023, and they're all kind of being discussed in the media finally now by Margaret Josephs and all of that. So if you want to go back in the live tab and watch those, you'll find them still extra juicy. All right. So let's get into tonight's show, Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 18, Episode 6, and some gossip. Not a lot going on. Let me tell you what I know. Shannon Beador and John Janssen went into court and battled it out a little bit. She tried to get certain aspects of his $75,000 facelift claim dropped. She thought that the fraud commentary in the complaint, or, for what he was looking for, was a little much, but he needed the fraud in there because he wanted punitive damages, and you need fraud for that. So he had his reasoning behind that. And he, by the way, is doing fraud by promissory note. So this is this. He's really kind of a jerk, honestly, for doing this. It's like he's costing a fortune in legal fees. And I think he's got a plan. I think this is part of a plan, if I was to say it. Shannon Beador did lose. The judge allowed John Jansson's case to continue as is with the fraud of the promissory note in it. He did ask for his lawyer's fees to be covered, which is really dark. And that wasn't awarded yet. The judge said he had to come back on that one. John Jansson, I would assume, is breaking out the text messages and the emails. And so that's why the judge is saying, okay, maybe we'll kind of keep this going, because there was like an understood contract. So that's that. So Shannon said she could tell that John Jansson was helping Alexis Bellino. Boy, that has Rachel Leviss and Tom Sandoval vibes. And so she was like, I knew right away she was coming on the show and that things like were going to be said, and she was prepared. So that happened. She doesn't want to be considered a victim. You'll hear her say it. Let me play you her response to John Jansson's kind of jerky comments on Carlos King.
Alexis and John gave a joint interview recently to Carlos King where he said the following, and it's not a nice quote. What's it like to fail every day? Every day to fail at everything. That's what it felt like to date her. How does that make you feel? What is your response to that?
Well, I find humor in it, actually.
Good.
But, there were periods. I talked about it on the show when he and I would argue, which was often. He would ghost me up to, I think the longest was like 10 days. So, yes, I would verbalize my hurt, that's not the relationship that I wanted to have. So, and we did argue all the time, but it's like, gosh, John, you're such a good guy. You're such a good guy. You're trying all the time. I mean, we had good times.
Yeah.
We did.
I hung out with you two before, yes.
You have been out with us, but
yes.
We've had dinner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He also said that he does not feel that you could survive without the show. What do you think he meant by that?
I think he meant financially, which, I'd have to find something else to do, but, it would be a struggle. It would be a struggle.
Now, here's what Shannon Beador said about Tamra Judge and her friendship. She kind of piled Tamra Judge in the toxic relationship pile with John Janssen. I kind of agree.
Tamra, is the door open even a smidge for that?
What did I learn at a facility that helped me create healthy boundaries for myself? I had a toxic relationship with Tamra. Every year, she had a problem with me, has had a problem with something I did or didn't do. And every time, in deference to the friendship, I just kind of brush off certain things. I'm not going back this time. I'm not. But, watch the show. She says she's done with me. I'm fine with that.
In her criticism of you as a friend, she has re-brought up the "she dropped me" when she was let go from the show.
I actually have 150 pages of screenshots of text messages between that 2-month period that she said I ghosted her. And that's just texts, not calls. I could probably get that record from my phone company.
Okay. Taylor Armstrong came out on her own podcast and shared a very similar take. Have you reevaluated how you maybe approach some of these friendships moving forward?
You know what? I've apologized to Taylor because, like I said, after my DUI, I really cut most people out of my life. It's interesting that Tamra put that bug in Taylor's ear because we did have plans and we had lunch plans and whatnot. She had guests, so she backed out. But I did have her come to my house at Christmas walk, but the phone works both ways.
Do you have any hopes of reconciling with Tamra? Is the door open even a smidge for that?
What did I learn at a facility that helped me create healthy boundaries for myself? I had a toxic relationship with Tamra.
So it would appear that door is closed for Shannon Beador, but I think it closed a long time ago. I'd say that the reason Shannon Beador hasn't been hanging out with Taylor Armstrong is because Taylor drinks a lot, which we've seen, and I would imagine Shannon Beador is trying to get a different influence around her, and I'm sure 100% that Tamra and Taylor gossiped about how Shannon didn't reach out to Taylor after she left the show, and Tamra was like, I know, believe me, she did it to me, and this is what she does, and that's that. But again, I have news for you. Turns out Tamra Judge goes to Jacqueline Larita from Real Housewives of New Jersey, and we're going to tell you the story this weekend, episode 196, and you're going to see that not only is Taylor Armstrong a hypocrite, like I said, for the reasons I said last week's recap gossip sesh, but turns out so is Tamra. Stay tuned for that one. Okay, let's get into the recap now. It sort of has Orange County vibes, doesn't it? So at the beginning of this episode, we have Padrani upset that the women seem that she's out of touch and dumb and not willing to do anything. And she's like shocked, like, why do you think so ill of me? And, why shouldn't I have a Rolex and all these fancy things? And Emily's like, because you're in a financial bad way and you're saying you can't afford to take care of your family and you're going to be homeless and all this stuff. And Padrani is just like, doesn't know how to do any banking or anything, but she owes the yoga landlord money. She owes the landlord of the house she lives in money. She's owes her car payment and the car gets repoed and she ends up driving Ryan's car in the episode. And then also she can't afford her life. Let me show you. In the same conversation, Jennifer also told the woman that her boyfriend, Ryan Boyajian, has agreed to absorb her debt. How much? $24,000. Okay, that's probably bullshit, but whatever, we'll leave it. You need to make changes so that you're in the driver's seat, shared Gina. Jennifer agreed. If something were to happen with Ryan, I'd literally be homeless, and I don't have a car. And then she's surprised at the end of the episode when Tamra Judge asks her to do foot fetish videos for OnlyFans to make money because she can't do anything else. And then Emily and Gina start to turn on each other. I use this because they were real friends, and maybe the show has toxified that at this point. It happens. But essentially, Gina's upset that Emily is spending so much time with Tamra, but we know why that is, because Emily is doing shows on Tamra's thing with Teddy. So there's a dynamic here that we're not seeing on the show that is playing into these, this rift that's starting to form between Gina and Emily. Also, at the West Hollywood event they did, I noticed Emily didn't go and wasn't with Gina. Heather Dubrow was. So that was kind of telling. So the women grab their bags and they head off on 2 different trips for one night. So, as I mentioned at the end of Act 1, we go into Act 2. And what happens? Well, Tamra Judge, Jennifer Pedrani, Katie, and Alexis Bellino head off to Big Bear to see Tamra Judge's newly renovated Big Bear home, which is like her favorite place. Okay. While they're driving, Alexis Bellino talks about John Janssen the whole time. And she says weird things like John Jansson is going to tons of Christian things with her. And they went to 2 Christian services at Christmas night. And it's really unusual because it's like almost like John Jansson's becoming a different person for Alexis Bellino than he's ever been before. But she won't stop talking about John Jansson the whole ride. And the women can't get a word in edgewise. So it's like weird. Like, why do you never stop talking about John Jansson? So anyway, Tamra comments on it and makes a joke. And then they get to Big Bear and they see Tamra's renovated house and there's a leak. That must have been really devastating for Tamra because that would be real and she would be pretty upset because she couldn't immediately fix it if they're shooting. Ugh, that's awful, a leak. Here's the outside of Tamra Judge's Big Bear house they went to. So here's one of the befores that Tamra Judge showed on her feed of her house, and here's an after. Actually, that's where the leak was. You know what they say in real estate, that's called putting lipstick on a pig. So then the women go to Elizabeth Vargas' house. There it is in La Quinta. She just remodeled it. It was stunning. It really was. There was a giant koi pond. You can see it there. The women go in. They unload the food. They're not allowed to actually dirty the place. It's so weird. And they feed koi fish and chit chat about things and are having fun. And it is a nice, like, cool scene. We get to see Elizabeth Vargas again. She seems to be doing really well. Emily's mean to her, Gina's really nice to her, and the rest of the women don't really pay too much attention to her. Bravo plays down the fact that she used to be an ex-housewife. I kind of felt bad for Elizabeth in that way. I don't know why they feel the need to, like, eliminate people when they come on the show and do cameos. Like, we could have her interact for one episode without, like, being upset if she leaves. But anyway, that's what happened, and Gina was worried also they'd burn the house down, and no one knew how to use the oven. And then the other women go tubing and we get a sense that like Alexis is a little bit bonkers. And I don't know, Jennifer Pedrani just seems really dumb. I mean, they're editing her like she's really out of touch and dumb through this whole episode. And yeah, that's it. So then the producers go in a weird direction. First of all, Emily really is looking very aggressive this season. It's not just the editing. It's like she's kind of coming for a lot of people and she's kind of a jerk. And this scene really demonstrates it. So Gina invites Emily and the girls, as I mentioned, on this one-night trip at Elizabeth Vargas's new house that she just developed and she's selling for $9 million. And, you know, Emily's spilling stuff and Shannon's saying there's mold in the house. And I just thought to myself, this is odd. It's very disrespectful. Like, you know, it's not Housewives. It's not authentic. Like, if you're friends, go over to your listing, and especially if you know you're on TV, and start calling out the weaknesses of the listing. It's really mean. I don't know. I didn't like that part. I was like, I wouldn't have participated in that, but I guess the women were kind of feeling like they had to. So then we get to the final act and we see Katie in Big Bear, and she's telling Tamra Judge a different version of the story about wanting to talk about Heather Dubrow's calling the paparazzi at Disneyland on the show and whether she should say it or not. And so she's telling a different version of the story, and Tamra's like, you got set up by Gina and Emily, probably, but Gina, okay? And then simultaneously, back in La Quinta, there's 2 fights going. One is that Emily feels betrayed by Gina because Gina said Emily's up Tamra's ass and has changed and she's gotten really mean and not in the way that she used to be. I agree. And then, but we know what that's about, right? That's about the fact that Emily is working for Tamra and Teddy Mellencamp now. They're not saying that on the show, but that's what's going on. Now, meanwhile, Heather Dubrow hijacks the evening away from Emily, who wants to have this fight, but can't because Heather starts coming in for Gina not being a good friend to her for talking about the paparazzi pictures and telling Katie to like bring it out on the show and then saying that she changed her mind and basically being dishonest about the whole thing to Heather. And Heather goes into this over-the-top discussion about how this damaged her family and her kids. I'll play you some of it. It's really just silly. And she compares it to Shannon making up a rumor that Gina had Child Protective Services called to take her kids away. And Heather's like, it's the same thing. It's so stupid. And Heather's so absolutely ridiculous. It was hard to watch. Okay, so I'm going to play you a little of the fight, which was about whether or not Gina should have stood up for Heather against Katie about this paparazzi situation, which is just stupid. Heather called the paparazzi. It didn't impact her family. The bigger issue was the cheating rumor that they never showed on the show. I don't understand what the hell's happening here, but they better get their act together on OC. And I'll just tease something they do at the end of this video is the best part of what they drop on tonight's show, which was juicy. But I mean, this kind of BS, Heather's got to like bring us something real here. Okay, so listen to this. Ugh.
You know that this paparazzi cheating thing affected my children. When untrue rumors come up, it does trickle down to my family. My kids were calling me last year because their friends are asking them about it. Max has an anxiety issue. She's across the country at school.
About the cheating or the paparazzi?
From people that she has just met. It's a lot.
Shannon making up a rumor about CPS and my children is not comparable to Heather
agree.
Dubrow calling the paparazzi. And if anybody thinks they're comparable, they're an idiot.
You don't think that affects my children? You don't trust me. That's what the issue is. Am I perfect? No. But am I allowed to make
I wouldn't
mistakes?
trust Gina
Never.
either.
I'm never allowed to make a mistake. That's bullshit. That's how I feel.
She isn't. Heather is like so
My intention was not to have a meaningful
difficult.
conversation with my best friend and then get derailed by Heather Dubrow, but that's fine. She just wants to swoop in there and make it about her, so you can have her.
There's a difference between making a mistake in judgment in a moment where there's so much stress. But that is what I did. No, I made a mistake in judgment in a moment. It didn't. It went on for less than 24 hours.
No, Katie said she didn't call her 10 minutes later. She said she called like months later.
She told you girls apparently that she called me 10 minutes later and said, don't say it, don't say it. That's not what happened.
Right. You're saying it was months later.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I called her the next day. No, that's important. You told me you called her 10 minutes later. It took me all of 10 minutes, and I called her.
And you thought you could squash that.
And I said, Katie, do not bring this up.
How is she going to stop Katie from bringing it up if she's casting for the show? This is so dumb. They should come up with a better way of doing this.
Very much felt like you put her in a very tough position.
How did she put her in a bad position? You just
Wait a minute.
Gina knew it would not be funny. You got set up. You got set up.
You really believe that?
I can't actually figure out what Gina's motivation was for wanting me to talk about this, but Tamra's thoughts on it are pretty convincing.
So who's lying? You or Katie? Well, I have not lied.
Let me tell you what the problem is, you guys. The viewers even watching the shows now are aware of the fourth wall. So it's almost better for them to start just embracing it, and like this fight being about someone trying to bring in cheating rumors, and then, you know, the paparazzi was part of the cheating rumors, and then they were really upset because Gina seemed to orchestrate bringing in a new member of the friend group who was going to throw Heather under the bus with the paparazzi pictures and call it out, which would hurt her brand. And put it on the TV show and have it discussed like that would be a lot more interesting than what we're seeing them try to like stay in this little compartment. It doesn't make any sense why everyone's so upset and why Heather's overreacting. Because Heather is overreacting because this wasn't about the paparazzi. This was about cheating, about Terry cheating. And so there it is. So I do want to say that on Watch What Happens Live tonight, the fans said they would rather go to La Quinta than Big Bear, and that was the friend group they'd rather be in. But this episode did have an awesome ending, and that is that Alexis Bellino has videos of Shannon Beador drunk off her ass at John Jansson's apartment screaming at him a few minutes before she gets in the accident. And supposedly they're outrageous and super messy and horrific, and they would ruin Shannon in the community forever and change everybody's perception of her. And so this is the big bomb dropped at the end of the episode, which makes me want to go, where the hell are the videos? Because I want to see them. No wonder Shannon was having a nervous breakdown all season. All right, you guys, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I'll see you next week. All right, bye.